Because what we should see are jobs being created. The U.S. is expected to produce 7.3 million barrels of oil per day in 2013. That's up from 6.4 million barrels a day last year. Now, in my way of thinking, that there should be 0.9 million barrels or 0.9 million barrels or 900,000 barrels of oil less a day that we are importing, especially when we see demand stabilizing. So it's not like, yeah, we're producing more oil, but we're driving more cars, we're driving further, we're going longer, we're getting poor gas mileage, we're not seeing the conversions of electric plants and other things. That's not the case. If we don't see that reduction from the Middle East, somebody is in somebody's pocket, and we are in bigger trouble than we thought. And the only thing that should possibly allow us to import the same amount of oil this year as we did last year would be the EPA intervening in private property oil drilling and natural gas drilling, intervening and literally coming up with some sort of rule regulation violations that stop the drilling. Now, is that possible? Sure it is. You know that. I know that. Then it's a different story. Then we're going to have to see imports increase. But there will still be a lot of questions to be answered. That is for certain. 888-589-8840. Folks, I was talking about our lack of planning, and I sounded a bit frustrated. If you have not called the AFA Foundation to start thinking about your planning, I'm just going to say, look, wait a minute, let me just say this. If you don't want to call the AFA Foundation, that's fine. If you don't call somebody, somebody you trust, someone you know that's going to give you biblical advice and start planning, you're making a huge mistake. Do not. Here's what we're falling into. We're falling into a trap mentally. It's a psychological thing. And maybe there's a part of me that's just frustrated because I'm seeing Ben Bernanke winning right now in this psychological wealth effect that he's trying to create. And it's gotten me a little bit stressed out over it. Not because I don't want him to win, but it's the wrong race to be running. Look. Do not get caught up in the same illusion that we all got caught up in back in 2000 through 2006 when our home prices were doubling and going through the ceiling, and we started using the value of our homes, the equity in our homes, as a piggy bank. Don't make the same mistake, only this time the psychological wealth effect is the stock market, is your 401k and your IRA. Don't get caught up in that. It's a no-win situation. Because if you do that, you're not going to be planning. I am telling you, for those of you who have already planned, for those of you that have been to the AFA Foundation, who have done gift annuities and charitable trust and donor advised funds and have been planning, coming up with a strategy, not just a plan, but a strategy with detail, there are some of you, many of you, already receiving a monthly income every month. Some of you know that it's coming in the years to come. You are going to absolutely, if I had anything whatsoever to do with encouraging you to do that, you're going to love me. I'm going to be your best friend in 10 years. I know it. I know it. For those of you who aren't doing it or refuse to look at it or don't want to part with anything, even though you want the income for the rest of your life, but you don't want to part with anything. When things come tumbling down, when the volatility gets unbearable for you to continue to be in the market, don't scramble around and try to retroact planning. Doesn't work that way. Don't panic plan. Plan now. If you have not carved out something for permanent income, I'm just telling you, you make the decision, pray about it. You're making a huge mistake, because as sure as I'm sitting here, when you're 75 years old, 80, I don't know when it's going to be, I guarantee you the only thing you're going to care about is how much money you've got coming in every month. Trust me, I know I'm right on it. I've seen it. And there's going to be a day when you're not going to want to live with this volatility. Listen, if you're 35 years old, that's fine, live with it. You should live with it. But if you're ready to retire, you're 55 and older and you're thinking about your retirement, you better plan properly. And if you're not doing it, shame on you. It's not biblical and it's not prudent. It's not wise to go about your business without thinking about those things. We live in very uncertain and very volatile times. And if you haven't called the foundation, if you haven't talked to anybody there, if you haven't established a time in which you can begin your planning with somebody there, you better do it today. I listen, this isn't about anything else, but you've got to be planning. You don't have to, if you want to call a lawyer, call a lawyer. If you want to call your financial advisor, call your financial advisor then, but do it today. Don't keep putting this off. Okay, let's take a look. All positive territory. Dow's up 45. Southwest Airlines traffic has fallen 4.4%. That's in the headlines right now. That's why I don't buy airlines. They're still talking about U.S. jobless claims at 340,000 this month, driving the market right now, and that positive. It is a good number. At least I think it's a poor excuse for what's really driving the market. But at the same time, it's a legitimate reason why you could feel encouraged about the markets. It's not enough to be jumping into the markets full steam ahead, but at least it's better than jumping on the markets just because everybody's happy and enthused because the Fed is pouring all this cheap money into the markets to the tune of $4 billion for every trading day. Anyway, that's where we are. Let me go to Craig. Craig calling us from Virginia. Hey, Craig.
Yeah, how you doing, Dan?
Good.
I had a couple points. You brought up so many points in the last hour.
I know.
Do you believe that there's possibly like a subconscious effort by conservative talk shows to talk the economy down so that it will crash because of who's in the White House?
Nobody's ever asked me that question, Craig. That's a good one. I think I don't know. Here's what I would say. It's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible. I can only speak for myself. I'm like you, Craig. I'm trying to save a little money, and I've got an IRA account, and I'm hoping that there's somewhat of a stability in the economy for me personally, for my future, so that I can continue to give to the Lord's work, do the Lord's work, and I can put bread on the table. I can only say that the last thing I want is the market to collapse. I mean, I mean that with all. It's the last thing I want. I mean, just speaking from a personal perspective. So I I gotta believe, and that's probably not true. I mean, there's guys on conservative talk radio that are, making hundreds of thousands of dollars and, have more money than they know what to do with, I suppose. And maybe they have the luxury of, trying to fulfill their own prophecies. I'm not one of them. I find it hard to believe that there are some that would do that. I don't think anybody wants that. I want to believe, and this is where I'm probably naive here. I don't have the privilege, the time on my hands to listen to a lot of conservative talk shows. I don't listen. One, I don't listen intentionally because I don't want to know what everybody else is saying because I'm always afraid it'll sway my thinking. And the other is I don't have the time.